How to lose 4 to 5 pounds a month or 40 to 60 pounds a year with almost no effort. Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy, and this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be successful. Now today I'm in San Simeon, California, one of my favorite places to visit. It's awesome. As you can see, there's like no people here. The beaches are beautiful. It's full of seals. It's just a really beautiful place to come and chill out. And because of the quarantine that's going on right now, almost no one's traveling. So all the hotels are like half off. Anyway, so today I want to talk about PFAs. And PFAs stand for perifluoroalkali or perfluoroalkali. But for short, they call them PFAs. And PFAs are in a lot of things. They use them a lot in plastics. Particularly, they use them like in spatulas and cooking utensils that are made out of plastic. And they use them like in Teflon or non-stick frying pans. And they also use them in stuff like this. This is what I found on the beach this morning walking around, unfortunately. Like in cups and plates and plastics. They actually use it in pizza boxes. When you get a pizza box and you think it's cardboard, it's actually lined with plastic to prevent the grease from getting through the cardboard. So PFAs are a lot of stuff. They're also in plastic wrap you put over your food. They're in a lot of containers, a lot of disposable containers. So the problem is when you absorb that stuff, it's called an obesogen. And basically it damages your hormones in your body and it makes you gain a lot of weight. So now we know plastics are everywhere. We use it for everything. It's pretty much impossible to buy stuff without plastics. And recently the FDA, or the Federal Drug Administration, did a study on Americans, and they found that 98% of Americans had PFAs in their blood. So what does that mean? Well, we're one of the most obese countries in the world. I think we're number 2 or number 3 right now. And we have a really high rate of autism. Now, we don't know what causes autism, but a lot of scientists do think it's because of plastics and our exposure to plastics. It causes a lot of issues in your body because, as we've discussed before, your body is a network of, let's say, like telephone wires, right? It's almost like when you're a kid, when you play tag. Tag, you're it, and you touch the next guy's hand, he keeps going like a relay race. And these hormones go A to B to C to D to E to F to cause processes, to digest food, to go to sleep. Absolutely everything that you do is run by hormones. So it's basically your body's communication system. So when you offset that line of communication, there's miscommunications, just like with people. And obviously there's problems. And one of the problems we have is obesity, birth defects, stuff like that. What's happening right now is we're using so much of these PFAs that the government is actually banning them in a lot of places, but it's a little late because it's circulating all through our environment. It's in our water, and in our water, it's getting into our food when we water our fields, and then when we feed our livestock, our cows, our chicken, our pigs, they're eating it. So then they're concentrating in their body. So now they're doing tests on like cuts of meat at markets and stuff, and they're finding that pretty much all of it is laced with PFAs. So now what can you do to help stop this? Well, one thing is don't use disposable plates and forks at your house. Even if you use paper plates and stuff, those are lined with, they say carnauba wax, and I gotta look that up because I'm not sure exactly what it's made out of, but it's not beeswax. So it's an artificial type of wax. But otherwise, they use plastics to line even things that are made with paper, like paper cups and stuff like that. So anytime you expose those to heat, it causes more of a release of that chemical into your food. So if you're drinking hot coffee out of something like this, once you pour it in there, that hot coffee is causing those PFAs to leach into your hot chocolate, your tea, or whatever, and then you're drinking it. And then our body, we have filters. We have our kidneys, we have our liver, and they're so good that they filter out pretty much everything. So not everything, but most things. Organic compounds. and they discharge them in our urine or in our feces when we go to the restroom. But when it comes to inorganic compounds or compounds that are made in laboratories like PFAs, your body doesn't really know how to deal with that. We're not made to deal with these types of artificial chemicals. So a lot of it ends up getting stored in your body and it just stays in there. And your body tries as much as it can to get rid of it. When it can, it can. Otherwise, what it does is it does things like cellulite. Women that have cellulite, some of it's genetic and some of it's caused by other things, but a lot of it is also caused by chemicals in your body. When you get these chemicals in your body tries to deal with it and it can't. So when it can't get rid of it, it surrounds it with fat. And then it makes another capsule and it makes another capsule and it encapsulates those toxic substances. And that's why you get that buildup of those cellulite. So the more toxic stuff you're exposed to, the more cellulite you may have, depending on your genes also. But that's one strategy for helping get rid of it, is don't use that stuff. Instead of using plastic, plates or forks or cups and all that, just use metal or glass. Glass is really good. Use things that are inert. Glass is an inert substance. It doesn't react with other things. So you can put anything on it and it's not going to react. Whereas if you get like pasta sauce or anything with tomato, salsa, and you put it in a plastic container, the tomato actually eats the plastic and it releases more PFAs. So if you buy a bottle of salsa, oftentimes you'll see it's in glass. That's the reason why. Because when you put it in plastic, it'll eat it up and it'll get this plastic taste in it. So in your home, if you make some, some eggplant parmesan or something, don't store it in your fridge in plastic containers because you're gonna suck out more of those PFAs out of there. Now at home, you should use glass containers as much as possible. I use glass jars for pretty much everything whenever I can for storage. I do use some plastic for storage because it's easier, but I recycle. I use the ones that they were given to me at a market for, I don't know, for salad or something, like those big bends. But I don't put hot food into it because, again, if you put hot food into it, it's gonna react. It's gonna release more. So try to limit your exposure to it, but not using any of that stuff. Definitely don't drink out of these types of foam cups and stuff like that, or plastic cups. Don't drink water. Don't drink anything out of them. Don't drink water bottles out of plastic. Use your own. Bring filtered water in a metal or glass bottle. Carry your coffee in the same thing. If you drive a truck or you drive to work or whatever, bring your own thermos. Go into the 7-Eleven, fill it up with hot coffee. Don't use their foam cups. They'll allow you to fill it up. I've done it dozens of times when I'm driving. I need some coffee or I need tea or something. They'll let you fill up your own containers. Even if you drink sodas, try not to use these because they're getting thrown into the ocean also, and they're damaging, our world. But the big thing is avoiding these PFAs. Now, again, in the kitchen, instead of using these Teflon frying pans, those non-stick pans, use cast iron. Those are the best. Cast iron actually release low amounts of iron into your food, and they're good for people to help keep your iron levels up. Especially if you have anemia or you know anybody that has anemia, get them an iron frying pan or saucepan or whatever. They have everything. Those have been around since ancient times. Back in 300 years ago, people were using those. They're the tried and true best option for cooking. Now you can also use copper. Copper's okay. That also leaches into your food, but we need copper, so it's not terribly bad for you unless you have a problem with a medical disorder that says you specifically have issues with copper. But generally, copper's okay. The problem is that sometimes some of those copper pans are lined with Teflon, so you don't want that. You want to get just straight copper. Don't get aluminum. Aluminum's not good. That leaches into your food and that causes problems with your brain. It's a neurotoxin, so we actually don't need very much, if any, aluminum in our body, but we do use copper, and we absolutely use iron. Iron is what we use in our blood to help transport oxygen. So if you're anemic, you'll be tired, you'll be lethargic, you're not going to get much oxygen traveling through your body, so you're going to get tired all the time. That's why when you're anemic, your doctor will give you some iron supplement with some vitamin C, because vitamin C helps you absorb that iron. So if you are anemic, use the iron pans and drink some orange juice or put something fresh in there with your food, whatever it is you cook. Put some fresh broccoli or something, so you had some vitamin C. As for your cooking utensils, if you have any that are plastic, get the stainless steel ones, or you can get bamboo. Bamboo are really good. Those are reusable, they're renewable, they're good for the environment, and they're non-toxic. They're not going to leach into your food, and they pretty much last forever. It's pretty amazing how strong bamboo is. I have some bamboo utensils in my kitchen, and they've lasted forever. And I know my roommate got some plastic ones because the place I'm living in right now, I moved in with someone else that was living there already. And hers are all eaten up and melted from cooking. And she's only had them maybe a few months. She bought them at a store, and you know, when you're cooking, obviously it melts the plastic if you leave them on there so much for too long. So, you know, bamboo are way superior. They don't burn up, and they actually last much longer. Like I said, I've had mine for years. I recommend using bamboo. Now, other things you can do is food. Now, in the ocean, big fish eat little fish. So if you eat a big fish, like a tuna, for example, people think that tuna are small fish because they come in these little cans. They're actually huge fish. They can weigh over 1,000 pounds. They say that some tuna can be the size of a small car. So they eat a lot of small fish. And just like us, like we store stuff in our organs, like the plastics, the PFAs and all that stuff. When you eat a big fish, they've been eating lots of little fish for a long time. So in their body, they're building up those PFAs, and it concentrates. That's why when you're pregnant, they tell you don't eat tilefish, don't eat sharks. They tell you not to eat certain types of fish because those fish eat a lot of fish. And basically when they eat one of those, they consume a large portion of that mercury or PFA or something like that, and they store it in their body. So you're gonna get much larger doses of PFA in your body if you're eating big animals. So if you're eating fish, eat small fish. Eat salmon, eat anchovies, eat sardines. Stuff like that are actually better for you because they have less of these toxic chemicals built up into their body. Another thing is big animals like cows and stuff like that. You want to try to eat like chicken or fish, something like that. If you do eat meats, you want to eat those because they're going to have less than like a large cow or a pig would, because that chicken matures really quickly. Chickens can mature in a couple months and then you're eating it. So whereas a cow, you have to grow for a few years. And remember, these chemicals are in the livestock. So it is going to get into chicken and fish and everything else, just because they're feeding those chickens corn, they're feeding them grains that are grown on farms that are watered with water that's probably polluted with PFAs and mercury. The government found that it's pretty much all over our country. It's in most of our drinking water in the country. So you want to get yourself a good filter for your house, like a reverse osmosis filter. That'll help filter out these PFAs and a lot of mercury and these heavy metals that are causing a lot of damage to people. So that's another thing you want to look at. And also, again, try to eat as many fruits and vegetables as you can, because there's something called chelation therapy. Chelation therapy helps get heavy metals out of your body if you've had heavy metal poisoning. It's really good, but you can do it naturally. Of course, it's not as quick, but you can do it long term by eating lots of fruits and veggies. When you eat things like that, it actually bonds to the metal, the molecules, and it takes them out of your body. So, another thing is if you eat meats, like you eat, pork or beef or whatever, don't eat organ meats. Organ meats are terrible, like, livers or kidneys or intestines. Stuff like that is not good. If you're eating liver, that's basically, think of it as like a filter, a water filter. It filters all the water. You drink the clean water and all the junk is concentrating in that filter, right? So just imagine you come along, you get that filter and you shake it in your mouth and you drink everything or eat everything that's inside that filter. That's what you're doing when you eat organ meats. Organ meats, kidneys, livers, they're filters. They're filtering all the trash out of the animal, all the chemicals, all the plastics, all the worst stuff. And you come along, you eat it, you just took on a mega dose of those. So never eat organ meats. And if you eat meat, avoid processed meats like sausages, weenies, bologna, stuff like that. My dad My grandmother, several of my uncles, many of my family members have worked for many, many generations, actually like 3 generations in packing houses in Kansas and Oklahoma and here in California. My dad retired from Farmer John. He worked there 34 years. They make the famous Los Angeles Dodgers Dodger dog that we eat at the stadium. And they've told me since I was a kid how this process works. They slaughter the animals, you know, they make hams, they make whatever. Everything is left over, all the organs. Most people don't like that stuff. So they'll grind it up, add a bunch of chemicals to it, like nitrates, nitrites, a bunch of preservatives, add lots of salt, and they'll use a machine to make it into a nice, shiny, beautiful looking weenie or a sausage. But what you don't know is it's made out of all the waste. All the organ meats, all the stuff that's no good, that people don't like because it doesn't look pretty. And also the stuff that rots. My dad says that when they get really busy and they kill too many pigs, they don't process them fast enough, or a machine goes down or whatever, the meat will actually start rotting. It'll start getting green and foamy, and it'll start smelling really bad. And legally, they're allowed to process that and make it into weenies and sausage, so they do. All they do is they just grind it up with a bunch of chemicals and make it into a weenie or some bologna or Spam. You know, Spam is that's all waste, animal waste. So, you know, you don't want to eat that stuff because it has the worst ingredients. It's probably going to have the highest concentrations of PFAs, of mercury, of arsenic, it's just all sorts of nasty stuff. So if you're going to eat meats, eat nice, clean meats. Eat small animals. Eat chickens, eat fish, eat small fishes. That's going to be a lot healthier. In studies, what they found were that women, they had a group of like 1,000 women and men. And they went on a diet for like 6 months. They lost a bunch of weight. And what they found was that all these people continued their healthy diet in these control groups and in the test group. But the people that ate out of things that had PFAs on them, used Teflon cooking pans, used plastic spatulas and spoons, they gained 4 to 5 pounds a month more. It just gradually came back on. That's why they're called obesogens. They cause you to gain weight, and they cause a lot of inflammation. Remember, not all weight gain is excess calories. A lot of people think like, oh, I got this extra, you know, I ate too much. It's not just excess calories. A lot of it is actually inflammation. If you're eating stuff that makes you inflamed, that's toxic, your body's gonna get inflamed. And what is inflammation? Well, you're gaining water. You can't just go to the restroom and get rid of that water. That water stays there for a long time. In fact, I was reading if you eat something toxic that has causes inflammation, let's say you eat some French fries, you go have some beer or whatever, that inflammation can last 3 weeks in your body. 3 weeks. So if you eat something that causes inflammation, like some processed food out of a can or something, some Chef Boyardee, you're gonna get inflamed, you're gonna retain water. That can stay on you for 3 weeks. In those 3 weeks, if you eat another something like that causes inflammation, you just keep the cycle going. You see where I'm going? It never has a chance to actually drop off. So you're looking at yourself in the mirror like, wow, I've gained a lot of weight. You know, now I better buy some bigger pants. But you're eating really healthy. I hear this all the time from patients. They tell me, Doc, I eat really healthy. And they write down everything in a book and they show me. And we comb through it. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, they're reducing their calories, they're eating really good, but they keep their weight up and they can't lose weight. And a lot of it is because these obesogens. So if a lot of people have that problem, if you're watching this video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those stubborn pounds you just cannot lose and you can't figure out what it is. You're eating oatmeal every morning with fruits, you're eating beans, salads, you know, you're eating really healthy. A lot of it is because these PFAs. So these people that cut this stuff out in their diet, they lost over 1 pound a week, 1.25 pounds a week, and 48 to 60 pounds a year. So imagine that. I wouldn't even have to exercise. I could eat whatever I want if I just watch it with the plastics. So again, thank you for listening. And from San Simeon, California, this is Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy. Bye-bye.